Welcome back to another episode of Chargers Powder Hour. Colin, Appel, and Miles Raruka here. It is Thursday night, which means it is time to talk about our bolts and preview this matchup on Sunday against the Packers. My man, how you doing? How we feeling heading into the weekend?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. Pretty much just living for the weekends right now as a college student. I mean, you've been there. You know how fun the weekends can be and how shitter the weeks can be. So, always
It's
happy
true.
to hop on a Thursday night because that means that the weekend is upon us, which means more football and new opportunities for the Chargers, man. So, I'm feeling good about this matchup. I'm really excited to get into it, man. How you doing? Did you just get off the golf course by chance? You look golf
I
ready.
wish, man. I wish. I know I'm rocking the tailor-made hat. Dude, it's crazy. Since I've moved out to Arizona, I have not golfed yet. It's
Are are
it's crazy.
prices out there a lot more expensive than here in Nebraska as we're accustomed to?
They're not. It's not terrible. It's starting to go up though. So this is like the tourist season because it's nice here and it's cold as fuck everywhere else. So I did get
72
my
here today, man. Just saying.
yeah. I saw that actually. I saw that you guys are getting pretty good weather back in
Global warming.
Nebraska. But no, yeah. So I did get my driver's license, my Arizona driver's license, because in the winter you actually get different rates if you don't have a Arizona license because they just assume you're a tourist, so they mark you up. So
I mean,
I got that taken care of at least. So now I get the actual legit rate all year round, which is nice.
there you go, man. Yeah, the struggles of moving to a new state.
For real.
I have not had to experience that, but maybe someday. So, what
So
do
yeah,
you
I wish I was coming off the golf course, but maybe that just makes me want to go. So I'm gonna have to go
Yeah,
sometime soon.
I
I need
mean
to.
the tailor
I
made
need
hat with
it.
the tailor made hat with the polo really made me think that you're just coming off the best round of your life or something. But
Shit, I wish, man.
looks like
Um,
you're working on a little something over there. What kind of beverage you got?
oh, thanks for noticing. I have a Firestone Walker 805 Cerveza, one of my favorite cervezas that I've had since I've been out here. I want to say it actually might be a California company. I can never remember with Firestone Walker if it's Arizona or if it's California, but it's delicious. It's a cerveza brewed with lime, and it's just a nice, easy, light, crisp drink to enjoy. So I went and grabbed a 6 pack on the way home from work earlier, and I've just been relaxing, watching some Thursday night football, getting ready to talk some bolts.
Yes, sir. That's perfect. Unfortunately, I kind of saw your notification. You sent me an email. I just hopped right on. I didn't grab anything, but I will let you guys know I will be working on some blue moons this weekend. I
Okay.
believe it's going to be my drink of the choice for this weekend. Got a big night game for our Nebraska Cornhuskers come Saturday night.
That's
So
right.
it's really gonna be quite the transition from a late night game for the Huskers into a early day game for us at least, for the Chargers. So definitely not accustomed to them playing at noon. So
It's kind of
that'll be a
nice though.
wake up call. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. I do
It'll
like
be
it.
like 11 a.m. out here, which will be nice. Yeah, well, you have all day, all afternoon to either celebrate or just be upset about
Yeah.
any bad football that might take place. So, but yeah, man, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the Packers Chargers at Lambeau this weekend. This is a game that we talked about last year, and even when the schedule came out, I'm like, man, this would be a really fun one to go to. Lambeau Field, just it's historic place to be. It's like the Wrigley Field of the NFL. So super jealous of anyone that's going to the game. Hope you guys have a great time. Hope the Chargers don't disappoint you. And yeah, Chargers coming to town at 4-5 to take on the Pack at 3-6. So to start it off here, we'll dive right into the injury report as we always do. So kicking us off, take us there.
All right, I got you. So for your Los Angeles Chargers on the injury report, not a whole lot of DNPs, thankfully. Really, only one. This is as of today, Thursday. So we have yesterday, Wednesday, and today's updated report on there. Um, Players that were full participants, people that I don't think we will have to worry about on that injury report. We have Joey Bosa was full both days, Alohi Gilman was full both days, and Rashawn Slater was full both days. Rashawn with a knee, Bosa with a hand, and Gilman with an elbow. I think it's pretty safe to say back to back full participants. Not like it wasn't like these guys were noticeably shaken up during the game this last week. I think it's safe to say that they won't even be listed on the injury report probably 24 hours from now.
Yeah.
And then we have four limiteds. We have JT Woods coming back to the squad this week. He has been, they have him listed with an illness. I'm pretty sure that there's probably a little bit more to that, why he hasn't been active the last, 4 weeks now. But he's been limited the first 2 days this week. Donald Parham did not participate yesterday, but was limited today. Sebastian Joseph Day did not participate yesterday, but was limited today with a knee issue. Also, at Parham is a hip issue. And then our boy Keenan, the Slayer, was limited today, did not participate yesterday. A lot of times on Wednesdays, when you see some DNPs, I kind of take it lightly. Wednesdays are a lot of days that the veterans get rest, and just kind of one of those days that it's, maybe it's a light lesser of a practice, more of a walkthrough. Sometimes it's just an estimate. So I take those DNPs pretty lightly on Wednesday. And then our only guy who has been DNP both today and yesterday is Gerald Everett with a chest injury. So, yeah, right off rip, I feel pretty good about everyone's chances except for Gerald Everett, pretty much at this point. Obviously, it would really be nice to see Keenan Allen log at least another limited tomorrow, along with Sebastian Joseph Day, Donald Parham, all those guys that were limited today. And if Gerald Everett can get into that limited category as well, that'd be really nice to see. But yeah, kind of as of right now, from what we know at this given moment, Everett to me is the only guy to be really concerned about.
Yeah, I totally agree, and that was going to be my first thoughts as well. And just scanning up and down this list, he's the only guy that really trajectory wise is not really looking like he'll be a go on Sunday. But everyone else is trending in the right direction, which you like to see. Getting back out there today after some DMPs and getting at least to limited status, like you mentioned. So everyone else looks pretty good. Definitely good to see. And you called it out right away too. Joey Bosa and Rashawn Slater. Those are two big names on that report, and they're back to back full. So you kind of hope that they're starting to get you know at least past some of these nicks and cuts and nagging injuries and things like that. But yeah, I mean it's another week of a pretty good looking injury report for the Los Angeles Chargers. Nothing to really kind of gripe about, complain about, or really dig into. This has been a fairly healthy team in 2023, which is a nice breath of fresh air considering what we're used to over the last handful of years. And sure, there's still a couple of key injuries that we're feeling at the moment, but for the most part, you just scan up and down the roster. I mean, for the most part, it's a pretty healthy squad.
Yeah, really, it's just one area of the field that's been hurting the most, and it's that receiver room. I mean, Mike Williams obviously out for the year. We got Josh Palmer who's going to miss at least two more games on the IR with I think it was a kneecap. I want to say like a hyperextended kneecap,
Yeah,
something along those lines. So, really, that area has been really hurting. But yeah, I would say compared to, I mean, knock on wood here, but compared to a lot of the years past, we've got a pretty healthy roster for this point in the season, especially compared to where we were probably last year at this time.
yeah. Obviously not as much as he'd like to show for it, but the key going forward is definitely. I mean, we've been fortunate with good health so far this season, but the key going forward is really just to continue that trend. Because if the Chargers are gonna make a run at this, playoff appearance, they're definitely gonna need as many guys out there and available as possible. So definitely knock on wood. Definitely, would like to see that trend continue and not only continue, but also get a few guys back in the process too.
For sure, man. The more guys that we can add back in these, coming weeks, the better that we're going to be feeling going into game days. Which is a nice little segue. Flipping over to the Green Bay side of the roster, side of the injury report. Excuse me, a lot more notable names on there. So just ripping off a few. Jair Alexander did not participate yesterday, but was a limited participant today. He's been out. I know he missed last week's game. I want to say he's missed one or two other ones as well. It's been a while since he's been out on the field. Kenny Clark, interior D lineman, limited both days for the Packers. Elton Jenkins, interior lineman, offensive lineman, limited participant both days. Aaron Jones, hamstring, limited participant both days. Quay Walker with a groin, limited participant both days. John Runyon, a guard, full participant both days. And then Christian Watson with a shoulder, limited participant every day so far this week. And I mean, looking at this, man, I don't follow the Packers, so I don't know the ins and the outs and who's trending which way. With so many limited participants, I think it's really hard for us to really be able to read, who's going to be able to go for the Packers come Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot to really dig into with this injury report either. I mean, a lot of guys, some names on there, but lots of limited and full participants in practice. Really the only one that it's kind of similar to our side of the report. A lot of guys that you expect to see out there trending in the right direction. The only one, and it's just one that really is not on trajectory to be out there Sunday, is Rudy Ford, which he is a free safety and he is a backup because he is not a starter.
Yes.
I have
So
their
that is the only person, or excuse me, other than Jair Alexander as a did
Yeah,
not
that's the other
participate
big one
yesterday.
because he was a DNP yesterday and a limited today. So that's definitely one to keep your eye on. But everyone else, I mean,
From what we
one,
know,
yeah, one
let's
not
just say
huge
they're gonna
names,
play.
and two, I mean, there's Aaron Jones, but he's limited yesterday and today. Christian Watson limited yesterday and today. Kenny Clark, he's a starting D end. He was limited yesterday and today as well. So all those guys, I'm expecting to be out there.
Yeah, I say, I mean, for the sake of this episode and the sake of the knowledge that we have now, it's best to just assume that they'll be mostly fully healthy come Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak for. I don't have like their IR pulled up. I know David Bakhtari is on it. He's done for the season. So that's but they've been without him for a few weeks now. So they've kind of already moved on and adjusted from that, but that's still a big piece that they're missing, when you think about their offensive line and, protecting Jordan Love. So definitely that's, not on the injury report, but I think that's worth mentioning just because of, who you have on the edge for the
And just
Chargers.
the people that aren't necessarily following this fan base but can recognize the name David Bakhtiari. Yeah,
Sure.
he
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
out. He is out for the season, so we will not be seeing him come Sunday, bearing a miracle, but a
Yeah.
literal miracle. But yeah, we will not be seeing him come Sunday.
We will not. So let's go ahead and segue over to our keys to victory here. What do the Chargers need to do in order to get back to 500 and successfully cap off a 3-1 campaign against the NFC North this year?
I really think that all of our keys to victory should be focused on the defensive side of the ball, at least coming off of last week's game. That's how it feels. Like my first one after getting just absolutely gashed by a great running back duo in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs last week is we cannot afford to do the same thing with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon come this week. They're
Yep.
two backs that complement each other perfectly. You have you have your, you're almost like your Austin Eckler guy and Aaron Jones. You're receiving back. You're, do most of the work. And then you've got your just ground and pound and AJ Dillon to come in there and pick up a few yards whenever you need it. It's giving me very similar vibes to that Montgomery Gibbs dynamic that Detroit has. And I definitely don't want to see flashbacks of that this week. So figuring out a way defensively to stop the run, at least stop explosive plays in the run, I think is definitely a massive key to victory, just especially after coming off such a piss poor performance on the run game last week and in the ground game, just defensively all over.
Yeah, I love that point because it's definitely something. It's right now I would call it the strength of this defense. Not that they have a lot, but I would say that their rush defense, it's ranked 12th in the league right now, yards per game wise. So that is definitely an improvement over what we've come to kind of see this rush defense be over the last couple of years. And man, that pisses me off just looking at that because if I didn't know what I knew about this season and you just showed me that, like, oh, it's week 11 and we're ranked 12th in rush, I would automatically assume our defense is like actually
Legit.
not even legit, just like
But like,
competent.
yeah, you would think we would be, better than a game under 500 right now for sure.
Oh, for sure. So, but that's, I mean, yeah, that they have to be able to stop this Russian attack because I do think that is probably going to be the game plan for the Packers. Just looking at this defense, I mean, sure they're probably going to be, they probably look at that secondary and that pass defense, and they might give Jordan Love a little bit more leeway than he usually has. Just knowing that hey, they're going to play a lot of zone. You're going to have a lot of soft spots underneath to get the ball out to. So we might see that. I mean, we might see the Chargers defense make Jordan Love look pretty legit. But this run defense, this Russian attack by the Packers, I think is it's going to be crucial to how this game goes because if they get that two-headed monster rolling with Dillon and Jones, it could spell trouble.
Yeah, no, for sure. For a historically bad run defense that we have here, anytime that we're matching up with two guys that are capable of running the ball like those two are,
Yeah,
it's always
and
it's always scary.
you just you can't let them you can't let them set up the pass. Like if they're going to win this game, like just I mean they have to not only they have to shut everything down in the run game. Um, because you can't let them get to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 on back-to-back runs. And then all of a sudden, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, Staley's going to give them 5-6 yards of cushion. Like that's not a position I want to find ourselves in, time and time again. You'd like to see, okay, 1st and 10, you stuff it at the line of scrimmage. All right, 2nd and 10, maybe they go back to the run and get 3-4 yards. I'll take 3rd and 6s and 3rd and 7s, even though that's with this defense. Like, I mean, 3rd and 7's more like 3rd and 2. It feels like, but I mean, you just can't. You have to force them. You have to force Jordan Love to beat you, and you just can't make it easy on him, or give him any easy chunks.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we can all be thankful that we're not playing Dan Campbell this week, at least, who takes a 3rd and
Ben
7
Johnson.
mindset. Yeah, who
Oh
just
yeah,
takes
and the
a
4th
3rd
down
and
mindset.
7 and 3rd and 8 mindset of, let's get 4 here and then we can just power run it up the middle and make these guys
Yeah,
look like idiots, which was essentially the game plan last
yeah.
week. So
That looking back on last week, I mean, that's probably one of the most disappointing things is just, we got our rush defense finally. I think that's the first time this year that they've really just kind of been taken advantage of.
yeah,
And, I mean, based on what we've seen the first 9 weeks, you really weren't expecting that to be the case. And yeah, but again, that offensive line is legit. And, it makes sense when you really put the numbers together. Okay. Gibbs and Singletary. It makes sense, with that offensive line. So it's a new week, it's a new team, and I'm really expecting this rush defense to bounce back. So yeah, I love that Love that key to victory. For me, man, flipping it over to the offensive side, this is a passing defense that's ranked 7th in the league and a rushing defense that's ranked 27th in the league.
So I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of the things that I look at every week just to kind of get an idea, like a general gauge of, you know, maybe what the coaches are thinking, or as far as kind of just like basic game plan wise, like how do we want to attack this week? What's their weaknesses? How can we take advantage of those? And it's definitely, I mean, look, this is another opponent that has a subpar rushing defense, and I'm just curious to see if we take advantage of that or if we just kind of, abandon the run down the stretch and late in the game and let Justin Herbert play hero ball, because that's kind of been the trend as well. So I would like to see this offense help out Justin Herbert. I would love to see Eckler and Kelly get going. And really, they don't have to rush for 200 yards. I don't need a Miami Dolphins game by any means, but let's get some drives started with like some 4, 5, 6 yard carries, like get the chains moving, get some drives put together and just move the ball down the field and not ask Justin Herbert to complete 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12s all game.
Yeah, especially with a short-handed receiver room with, two of your top three weapons going to be out this week now, with Mike Williams obviously being out for the year. It's definitely crucial to be able to get that aspect of the run game going. And it's just really been a consistency thing. We'll see a break here or there of, oh, a 12-yard run, but then, it's just like a few more drives of, your standard 2 to 3 yard runs that just clearly don't work. I would love to see more. We've been begging for creativity, especially in that department. I think that, that now is better than later in order to be able to get that ground game going and, have that in our back pocket for the rest of the year.
Yeah, 100%. It just makes it so much easier on the offense, on the quarterback, on everybody else when you can establish some sort of a running game. So I really want them to take advantage of that going into this week. And then just to piggyback here real quick, my second key to victory, it's not necessarily a key to victory. It's just something to kind of look out for. It's the weather. This is going to be a
Yeah.
42 degree degree kickoff at noon on Sunday. So, and I think the high is like 44. So it's not really going to get much warmer throughout the game at all. Thankfully, it is supposed to be sunny and clear skies. So that's something, at least. It's not a snow game like we saw the Chiefs and Broncos playing a couple weeks ago. And it's not, I don't think it's supposed to be very windy either. So it might be a little brisk, but other than that, I mean, to me, it's just, I always call me Stephen A. Smith because I feel like he always brings up weather and cold weather teams and all that shit. And I don't really know if it ever like matters that much. But it's always something that I'm curious as to see if it, factors into the game at all. Not that the players are going to use it as an excuse aftermath wise or anything like that, but it, for a team that's really playing their first game of the year and in cold weather, it's just something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you think of Lambeau, you think of the frozen tundra, you think of, your typical like 10-degree games.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we got lucky enough to play them in November and not, let's say, like 5 weeks from now, late in December. So, I mean, I'm
However,
not
a
really
snow
expecting
game,
this to
going
be,
to like watching your team play at Lambeau in a snow game would be like
yeah, that'd be top one
legendary
of the,
status.
yeah, that would be, the vibes there would be so immaculate, especially coming out with a win. That'd just be awesome. But
Oh, that would
no,
be
I,
insane.
I think we've got at least a month until we really figure out whether these Chargers are cold weather material or not. Whether Justin
Yeah,
Herbert
they
can
have
be
some.
Phil
They have a few
Simba,
other
if you
games
will.
on the radar coming up that could be a little chilly. But yeah, this is the first one, so I it's not really a key to victory, but I just thought that was something worth bringing up. But other than that, I mean, just looking at this defense, man, just this defense has to bounce back. They have to force some turnovers, create some pressure on Jordan Love, get him uncomfortable, whatever that takes, and ultimately just bounce back from a bad performance. It's a long season. A win can put a band-aid on a few things. We've already seen that happen a few times this season,
At least for
and
another week.
at least for another week, right? So getting back to 500, never know what can happen. Try to stay on the optimistic side here. Lots of football left, but you got to bounce back from that performance last week.
Yeah, and I mean, we're playing Jordan Love this week. He's not on the level of Jared Goff. Not calling Jared Goff elite by any means, but Jordan Love has been prone to some very turnover prone
Yeah,
football. So I mean, there's going to be mistakes and there's going to be opportunities to take advantage of. It's just whether or not this defense will rise to the occasion and be able to do so. Detroit didn't really give us any gifts last week. They just marched up and down the field. But this week, I
yeah.
think with a guy like Jordan Love back there at QB, I'm expecting that to be a lot different story.
Last week was just a giant mismatch too. When you look at offensive play calling versus defensive play calling, dude, yeah, my dog is fucking tearing up my
Always,
couch right now.
always, Ollie tweaks hard.
You can see him back there, just fucking throwing pillows and shit. No, I think last week, ultimately, I mean, it was just mainly a huge mismatch in the offensive versus defensive game planning and play calling. So, you know, call it an additional key to game or key to victory here, but Brandon Staley play calling. We can ask more of the players and want them to execute and make plays and step up. But if it doesn't matter if they're 5-6 feet away from where the action is, where the play is happening. Like if that's the play call, if that's the position that they're being put in, that's on the play calling. So, you know, it's already made headlines this week amongst Chargers fans. I'm sure you saw it yesterday. At the press conference, Brandon Staley not giving up play calling duties. So
Yay.
shocker. At this point, I you know it's literally going to take him being fired to give up play calling duties. Like people just need to accept that. Like he's not going to let go of the reins. Like he's all in or nothing, right? So if he gets fired, it's going to be him going down with the play calling and everything else. So that is obviously well known now. But he's got to step up just as much as the players. He's got to figure out a way to expose this offense's weaknesses and take advantage of those weaknesses as well. So I'm looking to him to boil up a good game, a good defensive scheme.
Yeah, I would love to say that I have tons of faith in the fact that he will, but at this point, I definitely do not. But again, it's against a offense with a lot less weapons than we've seen in some of the past few weeks, or at least last week, and then KC, Dallas, those kind of teams. So I really think that this could be a good example of just a mediocre defense playing a bad offense, and good can come out of that. So
I agree, man. Any other keys to victory that you
no,
got?
I think that's all that I got. So.
All right, well, let's go into our odds section. We got to dig into the game lines here. Chargers, I know they're coming in as slight favorites. I want to say, if you give me a second here, I'll get it pulled up. This is according to DraftKings. Yes, so slight favorites. They're a 3-point favorite at Lambeau, so -3. Over under is set at 44, and the money line right now is setting at -162 if you're betting Chargers. So right away, a couple of things jump off at me. It the spread. I figured it'd be a little bit more than 3. It doesn't surprise me that's 3, but I just think it makes it a little bit trickier to bet the spread. Um, So yeah, I mean, 83% of the bets placed on DraftKings have been in favor of the Chargers. So people definitely seem to be liking the Chargers in this matchup. Like you said, not as great of an offense, doesn't have as many weapons as the Lions team that we faced last week. But there's a couple things I do like about some of these game lines. I don't hate the money line for either or. So depending on how you want to bet on this game, if you're going to bet on this game, I think this is going to be another close one. Uh, within a 3, 4, 5 point spread finish. So Packers plus 136 money line. This might be the time of the year where I just start betting against the Chargers religiously, and
Make yourself some cash. I mean, save
and
yourself
during
from
and during
total
the
misery.
games, I'm just like, fuck my bets. I don't care. Like, I'll make that money back, and then be all in on the Chargers. And the second I get my heart broke, it's like at least I have some consolation money.
Yeah, that's usually how it
So
goes.
you know, Packers plus 136. I like that over the spread. It's just the spread doesn't pay out as much, minus 105 plus 3 for the Packers. So just playing odds here. Packers money line is kind of intriguing. But Chargers money line at minus 162 wouldn't be a bad bet either.
Yeah, I mean, you're the gambler guy, so I'm letting you get into it. But
I mean,
personally, go
it's
ahead.
not. I mean, I'm leaning Chargers, obviously, especially after a game like last week. Um, so yeah, I mean, put your money on the Chargers. Maybe parlay it with a couple different things in that game. For example, right now, anytime touchdown scoring. Oh no, they don't even have those out yet. I guess it's only Thursday. Um, so yeah, I don't have a ton of information. Just going off the game lines. I don't know, man. This is a game like it doesn't like jump out to me to bet it. So just looking at the game lines itself, I would probably stay away from this game. But if you are going to bet it, and if you're a Chargers fan and don't want to bet against them, I'm saying take the money line and add it in with something else if you want to boost those odds a little bit on the overall slip. But yeah, overall, this game, again, I might just start betting against the Chargers. At least I have some backup consolation.
I give it one more week before you do so, at least. Um,
No, this is
just
a game enough where I feel confident, and just the opponent itself. I feel like we're matched up fairly nice, and I feel like we're the better roster, better team. So doesn't mean that we're automatically going to win, but I think there's a very, very good chance the Chargers do win this week versus last week. I wanted them to win, and I know that they could have won, but it was really kind of a
but
coin
they
toss
didn't.
last week. Like, I really didn't know. It could have gone either way, and that game proved to be back and forth. So
Yeah, no, totally. I think this is going to be a totally different game than what we saw last week against the Lions. I think it's going to be a bit more of a slugfest. Things are going to get lost and won in the trenches, and yeah, I'm not expecting nearly as much of a bloodbath as we saw last Sunday.
oh yeah, I mean, Lions have like one of, if not the best offenses in the league. So it's really just a complete 180 from that. So that gives me a lot of confidence. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how everyone's headspace is with betting against your team, but I'm all for losing money if that means the Chargers are going to win. Like, that's the mindset I have. So like, call it a reverse jinx, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Like, I will throw away $15 every Sunday if that means the Chargers win. Like, I could give two shits less, or $20 or whatever it is. But when they lose on some bullshit, could pay out pretty nice.
I mean, yeah, there's more weeks in which it feels like we lose on bullshit than actually just straight up win the games. So I think fading the Chargers is probably a guaranteed way to make money in your life.
Yeah, I like that. Maybe not this
So
week though. I do
maybe
agree
not
that
this
this
week.
week.
Start
I do
next
agree
week
that
against
this week.
Baltimore.
I mean, you can always do it as a safety bet if you want to fade them, but or as like some again, just call it not even a safety bet, just call it consolation at this point, because that's really all it is. But I mean, there's a handful of games already this year that you could have won some money off of for just mainly speaking that.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. But I would wait a week. Baltimore next week. Wait a week to bet against your Chargers. But yeah, getting into some storylines, man. I actually have a fun one I kind of thought about this morning. Not really much of a storyline, not anything to necessarily watch for. But this is the final team that Justin Herbert has yet to play against in this Packers squad.
He's
So
played against every other franchise.
after this Sunday, he has played against every other franchise.
Huh. That is cool.
So,
Cool little stat
so
there.
because next year we'll move on to the NFC South, which is who we played his rookie year. So that will be the full circle of NFC teams. That'll be 4 years in, 4 NFC divisions. So
Yeah.
last team. But I wanted to go based off of Justin Herbert as well. Not the sexiest 2020 QB class matchup this weekend, but it is happening. Jordan Love versus Justin Herbert. Jordan Love, I believe, was I want to say he was like the 24th, 25th, 26th pick there in that 2020 draft. Obviously, Justin went number 7. This is the last of that first round class that he has to face. We've seen him play Tua, we've seen him play Burrow, but yeah, finally, the final challenger. Jordan Love will step into the ring against Justin Herbert to see who is the more profound quarterback in that 2020 class.
Man, it's such an interesting class. Like it really is. I mean,
It,
we
you got some
know we know
oddballs.
what Joe Burrow is. We know what Justin Herbert is. Tua's an interesting one. I don't think Tua's a bad quarterback. I think it just took him finding the right system, the right coach, the right fit. And yeah, I mean, Jordan Love, man, that's another one in that class. I mean, obviously Jalen Hurts in that class as well, just not a first rounder. But yeah, I mean, wow, looking back on that draft class, quarterback wise, insane. And I think it just makes sense as to like the Chargers being involved in that, especially with, the whole 2003 class, or '04 class, excuse me, with Rivers, Big Ben, and Eli. It just makes sense that the Chargers are involved in another what could be a legendary quarterback class and have one of the top guys in that class as well. So it's just kind of it feels like history repeating itself a little bit, and at the same time, I don't hate it. Like to me, I think that adds something to a player's just like chip on their shoulder. Um, who you got drafted like by or next to or either ahead of or behind of who is in your class coming out, and I feel like all of those guys are competing against each other, um and they probably never admit it. They could get asked that question 100 times in interviews and just be super humble, and we get it, but at the same time, like that has to be a thing. They care about playing each other and wanting to get the edge on each other because I mean, one, they're competitors, and two, it's just kind of a subtle, like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. I got you. Like,
Yeah.
I know what my record is against you. And of course, especially just it'll be fun to see who gets the first ring out of that class too, as we've already seen a couple of them get pretty close.
That's funny that you bring that up. I mean, we're kind of getting off track here for a second, but Eric Kendricks was mic'd up, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he was talking to Justin on the sideline, and he was telling him about, hey, you remember that time I got that one off of you? And Justin and him we're just teasing about it because he picked Justin off. I think that was 2 years ago when he was in a Vikings uniform. It's super cool to kind of see that side, especially of Justin Herbert, a guy who we all know is not very sociable. So Yeah, it's a good point to have. I know inside, I'm sure he's like, man, I mean, this is another guy, same draft class. Like, this is a guy that, he probably, he went to the combine with, he's been to camps with. Like, I'm sure that they have some form of relationship together, both over there from the West Coast as well. So, yeah, I'm sure they've talked before in the past, and it is going to be very interesting to see what that dynamic is between them, maybe post game, to see, what's going on between those two.
Yeah, and Jordan Love's a guy that I remember the Chargers being linked to him a lot in that pre-draft process in 2020. Um, and yeah, I mean it's kind of one of those things leading up to the draft. You're always like, man, I wonder this is gonna be really funny to look back on in like 2 years. Just don't know who you're gonna get. Don't know who's legit or not, even though you might have a pretty good idea of some guys coming out. But yeah, it's always one of those things. It's just you never know. And so that was one of those years up until Justin's name was called. Yeah, I really didn't know. I was like, I mean, I got to be prepared to rock with anyone. So, um, definitely still feel kind of tied to Jordan Love in that way. Yeah, because I definitely once Tua's name came off the board, I knew those were the only two really QB options that were on the board at that spot. So, but yeah, man, I'm rooting for Jordan Love. I really like everyone in that draft class. I mean, don't dislike anyone. You have Dolphins fans made it tough to like Tua there for a minute.
I was about to say, there's one name in there I'm not a huge fan of.
But overall, I mean, like, I think it's a solid class. And I love the fact that you have guys contributing that aren't first rounders, aka Jalen Hurts. So I think that's cool when it's not all just top 15, top 10 picks that are always that we're talking about or you hear about, but you also see some guys grind a little bit, and they have to get there a different way. But yeah, it's a insane class. I'm glad you brought that up because I mean, really, I didn't have a whole lot of storylines for this game going into it. When the schedule came out, I definitely one that I thought could be there was for sure, Corey Linsley
Mhm.
returning to play the Packers, but we don't even get that, which kind of sucks. So
Hey, J.K. Scott revenge game.
hey, there you go. Okay, I was trying to think of other players. I'm like, who was a former Packer, or vice versa, as a Packer that was a former Charger?
I mean, you could go down the list. I mean, we've had some guys. Atari Bigby was a Packer at one time. You got our boy Brian Bulaga, Casey Hayward. I mean, a bunch of guys obviously not still on the
Yeah.
team, but I think the only guy that will be active come Sunday that has spent time with the Packers is J.K. Scott.
What about Packers that are former Bolts? Any of
I
those
can't
on
think.
your radar?
I can't think of any.
I couldn't.
Not
I
off
mean,
the
I can't
top
off
of
the top
my
of my
head.
head. Yeah. Well, here I have their. I'm just going down. This is just their starters, but yeah, they don't. I mean, it's really not a team that we've really like either one like traded with, or like how like certain organizations just kind of like trust other organizations like judgment
Yeah.
and opinion. So it's
For
like
some reason, how the Raiders trust us.
exactly. Yeah, they're like, oh, he was a Charger. He must
Uh,
like. They know we always deal with high character dudes, so that's probably it. They're like, oh, he was a Charger. Okay, he's not going to get arrested.
yeah, no kidding. No, I mean, I don't know if you've seen like those NFL grids that drop where you got to like name the players that have played for like this team and everything,
Yeah,
but I run those daily. So, I mean, like you got Jared Cook was a Charger and a Packer.
yeah.
Kyler Fackrell, I know you remember him.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He went on to be a Packer, but yeah, there's a decent amount of names here, but yeah, J.K. Scott is going to be the only really notable one come uh
Dude, that
Sunday.
that
So,
hang time is going to be extra long, bro.
oh man, I'm expecting at least 3 muffed punts.
Add at least a quarter of yeah, 2 tenths, 3 tenths onto that hang time.
I mean, that he knows that Lambeau air, man. He knows that Wisconsin skyline. So he's gonna feel right at home.
Yeah, that's a hell of a storyline, man. That's probably going to be talked
Yeah,
about on the broadcast like repeatedly.
I
They're
think
probably
so.
not going to
I'm
shut up
actually
about it.
I'm actually really surprised ESPN hasn't picked up quite yet on
You
how
haven't
are
seen
they
multiple
preparing
tweets
for the
about it already?
JK. Yeah, I don't know why is Schefter not getting in on this J.K. Scott revenge game
For real.
drama. So I'm just hoping a fight doesn't break out, you know. So
Yeah. Another guy though, I mean, just going off of like back to the Jordan Love type thing where it's like in the pre-draft process, a guy that I really got used to wrapping my head around. I'm like, maybe what if he could be a Charger? I wouldn't mind seeing him in powder blue. Christian Watson was
oh
a
yeah.
guy that for a while there really wanted like the Chargers to pick him up in like the second round. I think he went early though. They want to say he was a first round
I
pick.
think they reached big time, at least for where his ADP was supposed to be. I believe he was
Yeah.
like a later first round, then he was supposed to be like mid to late second. So
Yeah, I
but
mean, just his size and his speed was something that I still think we could use on this roster. But yeah, I mean, other than that though, yeah, not a ton of storylines to kind of take notes on. Like you said, this is two teams that don't play each other very often. About once every 4 years or so, and so it's just not a lot of really activity between the two or ton of history. But it's going to be just a really cool game to watch and see the Chargers on TV at Lambeau because that doesn't really happen. It's kind of like one of those venues that it just feels kind of funny to watch them in. It's kind of how I feel like when they're playing at Dallas. It's just like, whoa, I'm not used to them like playing the
yeah.
Cowboys in Dallas. And, I'm used to seeing that stadium on TV all the time and that turf and, primetime games, whatever. But yeah, it's just two teams that don't get to face up very often. But yeah, should be a fun one, man. I'm looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and get into these predictions.
Yeah, I actually real quick, this I just reminded me of this. Last time the Chargers played in Lambeau was Phillips' only 500-yard passing game.
Oh shit, you're right. Nice little
So,
call out there.
yeah, so
5-12, is that what you finished with?
I think so. That sounds about right. But we ended up losing, of
Yep.
course. But
That was a
Our boy Danny Woodhead had a few touchdowns in that game, if I remember correctly. So
yeah. Was that
I
one
do
in
remember
Lambeau or is that one?
that one was in Lambeau, and then we played them in LA 4 years ago and beat them. We upset them in LA. We didn't have a very good
Drew
squad that
Tranquil
year,
Drew
and we
Tranquil
beat them.
blocked a punt in that game. I still remember. But
Damn.
what was
All
the
right.
game? I want to say it was probably the time before we played them in
In
Lambeau and
LA or in
no, in
Lambeau.
San Diego. It would have been it
Oh
might have been
yeah,
like
it was in San Diego. Yes, but I remember that
actually,
game as
you
well.
know what, dude? This little
Actually,
freaking sports betting book is
you
so
know what's
classic.
funny? I
I'll be able to
so I remember that game in San Diego, the last time the Packers played in San Diego, and it was an extremely high scoring game.
Yes,
And
it was
I
rainy.
rem yes, exactly. I took all of my Packers sports cards and ripped them up in the middle of that game. Like I had a bunch of football
So
cards and I
we're
destroyed them.
talking. This is so funny that they have this in here. We're talking 2019, 20. This would have been like 2015.
2015 would have been the Phil game.
Oh shit! So I probably won't have it. So this was
Here
probably
we
like
go.
20.
November 6th, 2011. Packers 45, Chargers 38.
Dude, yes, that was an insane game.
Yes, this game was crazy.
I remember
Vincent
I remember
Jackson,
watching that
7.
game and thinking like, "Holy shit, we're gonna be the," and then like, yeah, just ultimately not
Dude,
doing it. But yeah, what a
this
game!
box score is awesome. Vincent Jackson, 7 catches, 141 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that one.
Damn.
Yeah, Phil with 3 picks and 4 touchdowns. So that's Phil
Damn it,
does
Phil.
sometimes, but that's just Phil. That's just Phil being Phil. That's just
That's
Phil being
Philly
Phil.
road,
Yeah, we
bro.
actually almost came all the way back. We were
Yeah,
down 3 scores in the fourth quarter and almost came back.
yeah, I remember
What a
that. That was
fun
an insane
game.
game. So
What a
there
fun
have
loss. 2
been,
pick sixes by the Packers in that game. That is tough.
yeah, it was it was a wild one, and I remember just being really upset afterwards.
Yeah,
Uh,
fucking
there
Tramon
have been
Williams, bro.
some crazy games though between these two teams over the last couple of meetings. Like you said, the Philip 500-yard game, and then the one 4 years ago where Rodgers and company come into StubHub, and a rookie Drew Tranquil blocked a punt. Defense shut him down. Joey Bosa had a day, and Chargers ultimately. Phillip Rivers had a day that day too.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will be a fun one, man. Rolling into the predictions though, I can get us kicked off here.
Let's hear it.
I'm not betting on this game, so I'm not going to abide by any overs or unders or anything like that. Even though the line is set at 44, so I guess I can make one after I make this pick. But I am expecting the Chargers to bounce back and get back to 500. This is just one of basically what's going to be every game from here to the rest of the season being the most important game of the year. I mean, that's just kind of the situation that we've found ourselves in, and it's just going to have to be a 1 week at a time mentality, and get back to stacking a couple in a row. But it starts with one, so I do think they'll bounce back. I'm expecting to see a better performance by this defense. I don't want to say the word strong performance, but I think it will be better than what we saw last week. And I think for at least a week, Brandon Staley doesn't put out or extinguish all of the, fire talk, but I think he at least kind of, quiets down a little bit. But ultimately, he's going to have to do a lot more even after getting this win to prove that he's the guy going forward, because I mean that's a whole other conversation, but it just starts with one, and I am expecting him to at least for 1 week get this team back on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, man. I just think that this is a team that we are better than, even with a subpar coach that we have. I mean, the talent on field doesn't lie. I mean, we
Yeah.
have the QB position. That's a strong advantage. I would even say our receiver room, as is right now, might already be an advantage. O-line is an advantage, especially with guys like Bakhtiari out. And then, I mean, defense could go really either way with the kind of unit that we're rolling out there every week with the kind of coaching, at least. But yeah, I think that we are by far the stronger team here.
Yeah, and I'm expecting this to be a win similar to our first two wins, the Vikings win and the Raiders win, where I think there's going to be lots of good, lots of celebrating, highlight plays and big time scoring plays. I think there's also going to be a lot of not so good things that are going to come out of this game. And I think the Chargers ultimately win ugly in a close game, that doesn't have to be close, but finds itself close in the last couple of minutes. I don't think it is a win like the Bears or the Jets, where it's, for once pretty calm, pretty laid back, stress free. I think we're back to the stress, anxiety filled, ugly win.
Let's hear what do you got for a score for us then in this stressful, anxiety filled win?
Score, I'm not. Yeah, okay. I'll go Chargers 27, and I will go Packers 23.
I like it, man. Yeah, anytime you're predicting a Chargers win, I'm gonna be happy with it, because especially in this sense, because I completely agree with you, man. I see this game being somewhat in the middle of our extremely stress free games and our Bears, our Jets, our games that we've gone through this season. I see it somewhere in the middle there. I think just at the end of the day, I think Justin Herbert's going to make enough plays to prevail, and I just think with a QB like Jordan Love, there's going to be some opportunities for our defense to make some plays. And, I'm going to trust that, they can come this week. So I'm going to go 24-14 Chargers. I think it's a game, I think it stays close for a while, but we just end up pulling it out later in the fourth quarter, maybe a late touchdown or, a field goal to put us up 2 scores and wrap it up from there. So
I like it, man. Yeah, I agree with what you said about, it's a better team on paper. It's a better team. It's more complete. It's got more weapons, and I think, yeah, I just think this is one of those games that, unfortunately not every game comes down to who's got the better roster and all that. But I think this is one where it's just like roster don't lie type, talent don't lie, all that stuff. No matter what the coaching, uh, you know, disadvantages might be. I think this is one of those matchups where you just expect it and see the better team win. And doesn't mean that it won't be ugly or won't be stressful or whatever. But I do think ultimately we're recording Sunday night and celebrating a victory on Monday.
Yeah, I really like to think so too. I have quite a few buddies who are Packers fans as well, so this one will feel extremely good if we can get it done. For a bold prediction for me, just looking back at these box scores of Chargers Packers the last 3 times, Vincent Jackson won 47 in that game in 2011. Here in 2015, Keenan Allen went for 14 receptions for 157 yards. And then here in 2019, Mike Williams only had 3 catches but went for 111. So I see a trend that I think is going to continue into this week. I like Keenan to have back-to-back 100-plus receiving yard games. He is listed on the injury report, but he already told the media today that he's going to be completely fine and ready to go come Sunday. So I just really like I think this Herbert Keenan Allen connection is about as strong as we've ever seen it right now. And I expect that trend to completely continue into this week. I like Keenan to go for over 100.
All right. Sets me up for my bold prediction.
Let's hear it. You smirking.
I think Quentin Johnson has a 100-yard game.
There we go.
Now, hear
I
me
love
out.
it.
I think one of those receptions plays into it. I can see him maybe only catching like 4 or 5 balls, but I am feeling a big play. We almost saw it last week. He dropped it was pass interference, so we got bailed out.
He's
But
edging us.
yes, he was. And we were so close to just seeing Chargers Twitter blow up. And I think he breaks one. I don't know if he scores on the play, but I can definitely see busted coverage and, get the ball out into QJ's hand, let him fucking take off and, you know, skirt for 60, 70 yards down the field. Like I can feel it coming. We've asked it for the last couple of weeks, and slowly but surely the universe is delivering and saying, okay, this kid he's going to be all right. He's totally fine.
We're getting closer and closer, man.
He
I
is.
feel like
And they
we've
even said
reached
in the
the final
broadcast,
step.
last week, Joe Buck and or no, were they on Monday night last week or Sunday night last week? They've had so many goddamn primetime games lately.
Yeah, I know.
Or no, they were just on a regular broadcast. So it was Tony Romo and who's his partner?
I'm not good with. I know who you're talking. Just say it
But
was Tony
anyways,
Romo.
yeah, they were talking about like this offense that he's in right now is completely different than the offense that he operated in TCU. So like what they're asking of him is just outrageous. So I just think slowly but surely he's figuring it out week after week, and we're seeing that trust being built with Justin. It just takes a couple of passes thrown your way, making a couple of plays to let your quarterback know, like, hey, throw the ball my way. I'm gonna take care of the ball. I'm gonna make a play. Like, I got you. And we're starting to see that now, and we're starting to see Herbert. Even if it might be kind of forced, we're seeing that relationship start to develop week after week. So we saw the touchdown. The first thing we asked for really was a touchdown, and we've seen kind of these mini breakout performances. But now it's time to see QJ coming out party. Like, the next step in this ramp up process is the coming out party. He's had the mini ones. He's gotten, some momentum on his side now. Got a touchdown. Quarterback starting to look his way more. Like, the next step in all of this is to finally see what most people would call, his breakout, his national breakout game. Let's see 120 yards or 110 yards, 6-7 catches, and the narrative will quickly start to change about Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, Twitter's going to be a really fun place the day that happens. I'm really rooting for your prediction to be more right than mine, because I mean, as bad as I want to say that I 100% believe that QJ is going to be able to do it. Obviously, there's a bold predictions for a reason, but I agree that it's coming. It feels like it's all leading up to one of these next few weeks, and I certainly hope it's this week.
Yeah, so that would be awesome, man. I hope one of those predictions comes through, because if it does, probably spells some pretty good things for this offense and this team in general. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get out of here. Let's wrap it up. So appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of Chargers Powder Hour. This has been episode number 97.
Shout out Joey, but let's go with Jeremiah Atachu as number 97.
I like it. Jeremiah Tauchu and Joey Bosa episode coming at you live. Make sure to follow us on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Powder Hour Pod LA for all the latest news and updates about the podcast and about our bolts. As always, peace and bolt up.